Truly incredible that a president of the United States could come in and sue the people of the United States for $10 billion and then walk off with an immunity deal that no other American has ever had, nor could they receive, and to get that immunity deal from his former criminal defense attorney. During your tenure as Treasury Secretary, has the IRS recommended that any taxpayer be granted immunity from an audit for their taxes?
Again, one portion of that is the under litigation, so I'm not able to.
Yes, sir. It isn't a question of being not able, it's being not want to. But my question
no,
is
about, as I said,
thank you, sir.
There is litigation.
Reserving my time, my question to you again is,
definition of insanity,
in the ordinary practice of the Treasury Department, has there ever been a recommendation that a taxpayer be granted immunity from an audit of their taxes?
I'm sorry, what was that?
Same question. Has the IRS recommended that any taxpayer be granted immunity from an audit of their taxes?
Again, I'm unable to answer that.
You can answer it. You refuse to answer. Can you tell the American people, in the history of the Treasury Department, has there ever been a taxpayer who's been recommended to have immunity from an audit of their taxes?
Has there ever been a taxpayer who had his tax returns released, his family, and every employee?
So I'll take that as a no. Let me ask you, sir, since you say you're relying
to the president.
Thank you. I reserve
all his employees today.
Maintaining my time, and since you refuse to answer, let me ask you, since you say you're following the advice of the Attorney General, the former criminal defense attorney for Mr. Trump, as you know, the Attorney General cannot compromise a tax dispute unless it's referred to him from the IRS for prosecution or defense. Have you ever been involved in any way in a decision to refer a tax dispute to the Attorney General?
Again, I cannot comment on that.
You can't comment. Your argument here that you can't comment in this case makes as much sense as President Trump saying that he cannot. I understand you want to talk over me, but you're not answering the question, because you may have defined insanity by referring to Einstein, but your appearance here today and yesterday in the Senate defines deception, and that's what you're doing to the American people. Isn't it correct, sir, that the financial management service within the Treasury Department must give approval before any payment can be made from the judgment fund?
Sir, we administer the payments.
Yes, sir. You give approval to it. And
no, sir. We administer them.
You make a sign-off on them being.
We administer them, just like if you tell your bank to wire money.
Did
your
Brian
bank does not say do not pay? You shouldn't pay your Visa bill.
Did Brian Morrissey, who had been only confirmed by the Senate a few months earlier as Treasury General Counsel, do a good job for you? Can you answer that just with a yes or no?
Yes.
Yes, he did. And as you know, he abruptly resigned rather than be associated with the seedy Trump slush fund deal and didn't sign off on anything. Can you pledge to the committee? I'm asking you a question, sir, if you'd listen to it. Can you pledge to the committee that you will assure that no retaliation occurs against the career IRS employees who wrote the 25-page memo asking the Department of Justice to halt action on this outrageous audit immunity deal?
Sir, we follow the law.
Okay, well, will you follow the law and assuring the committee that you won't retaliate against those courageous career employees?
We always follow the law.
What's involved here, sir, is the most corrupt deal in American history. Truly incredible that a president of the United States could come in and sue the people of the United States for $10 billion and then walk off with an immunity deal that no other American has ever had, nor could they receive, and to get that immunity deal from his former criminal defense attorney, who he has appointed as acting attorney general. This is the kind of corruption that would permit the Trump family, if the Wall Street Journal is correct, that Trump earned $5 billion from his crypto bills last year, to be to pay him or not pay him as he feels it's smart to do. He made no complaint about the audits in his petition, and yet suddenly out of nowhere, he's granted immunity in what some have said in a report would be $100,000 benefit, $100 million benefit to him. You know that there is a responsibility of your department to do audits of the president every year. A report of this committee indicates that only one was begun during the first term. What are you doing to assure that those annual audits occur this year? The first term 3 years, nothing. Has anything been done this year to fulfill that responsibility?
Again, sir, due to IRS.
I'm not talking about.
IRS Rule 6103, which prohibits the discussion of taxpayer information.
It doesn't. It doesn't prohibit your.
This is how we got there with Mr. Littlejohn.
Yes, sir. It doesn't prohibit you indicating what you are doing to assure complicity with the law and with the practice, long-standing practice of the Internal Revenue Service. So I think we can assume from your deception today that nothing's being done, and this president is being treated in a way that no other president, no other American citizen has ever been treated.
I would agree with that, sir.
In an incredibly corrupt deal.
I would agree he is being treated the way no other person has ever been treated.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Secretary, thank you for being with us today. You were here a year ago. You came before the committee, and you closed your testimony by saying the president's bold leadership had laid the foundation for what you called a golden age economy. More recently, you said the economy could grow by at least 3.5% this year, and that Americans would see a non-inflationary boom. Mr. Secretary, I've searched hard to find constituents in my district who believe that this economy is golden. In fact, many of them are struggling more today than they were the last time you were in front of this committee. Personal savings are shrinking, disposable income is down, and families are paying more and more for basic necessities. So I would like to ask you a couple of yes or no questions about this golden economy. Electricity bills are up 8.5%. Is that golden?
Sir, you can ask.
Yes or no?
You can ask me a question.
No?
You can't tell me how to answer it. So.
Okay, let me put it this way, Mr. Secretary, because you're obviously not here to answer questions.
I am here to answer questions.
It's my time, Mr. Secretary. It's my time. Health insurance costs are up 26%. That's not golden. Child care costs are up 9%. That's not golden. Gas prices are up nearly 50%. That's not golden. Grocery prices are still straining family budgets. That's not golden. Mr. Secretary, working families don't feel like they're living through a golden age. And while H.R. 1 may have delivered modest tax cuts for some Americans, many families are seeing those savings wiped out by higher costs everywhere they shop. Is that what this administration considers a golden age? And it's rhetorical, so you don't even have to try and talk over me. Secretary, Mr. Secretary, what should I tell my constituents when they ask about these costs? Farmers who are being hit by high costs of fuel and fertilizers, who can't get their product to market because of the war in Iran. Tell them it's golden?
You should tell them that we've had 2.6% economic growth since President Trump took office, despite the Democratic.
These farmers are pretty smart, Mr. Secretary.
Well, no, people in California, one person
reclaiming my time. These farmers are pretty smart, Mr. Secretary, and they're not going to fall for that line. I understand your unwillingness to testify and answer questions about details regarding the IRS settlement with the Trump administration due to ongoing litigation. But at the end of the day, your department, the Treasury Department, and specifically the IRS, is going to have to carry out its demands. And let me be very specific about what those demands are. The settlement says the IRS is prevented from raising any and all claims against the president with respect to any tax return filed before May 19th, 2026. So, Mr. Secretary, as the head of the Treasury Department, you will be in charge of carrying out the demands of this settlement. So let me present a real, true scenario for you. If on May 18th, President Trump files an amendment to his 2024 federal tax return, and the amendment says, quote, I'm owed an extra $10 billion. That's the amount that he sued the IRS, that I forgot to claim on my tax return. Is it your opinion that the settlement agreement signed by Todd, Blanche, the acting attorney general and President Trump's former personal attorney would require you to pay President Trump $1 billion, no questions asked?
We will follow Justice Department's
Okay, you
advice.
won't answer that either. Do you think this is something that the American people should know? How can you sit here and not provide any answers to the American people?
Because I follow the law,
Because it is
Congressman.
astonishing to me that the president didn't know about this deal before it was signed. Of course he knew about it. He directed it. So why not cash out on his get-out-of-jail-free card? As I read it, he can absolutely file an amendment to his tax return and claim a giant tax refund. And you have to sit there and watch while he robs the Treasury, and more important, while he robs the American people blind. That's as unacceptable as you refusing to answer questions posed to you by the members of this committee. I yield back.
Mr. Kelly.
One of the most explosive moments from today's congressional hearing wasn't a dramatic confession. It was the refusal to give a direct answer. Congressman Lloyd Doggett repeatedly pressed Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent with what appeared to be a straightforward question. Has the IRS ever recommended granting any taxpayer immunity from a tax audit? Instead of answering yes or no, Bessent repeatedly said he couldn't comment because of ongoing litigation. That response immediately became the center of the hearing. Doggett argued that he wasn't asking about the details of a pending legal case. He said he was asking about the history and standard practice of the Treasury Department. As the exchange continued, frustration inside the hearing room became obvious. Every time the question was repeated, the answer remained essentially the same: no direct response. The hearing then shifted to a much broader issue: government transparency and accountability. Doggett accused the administration of creating special treatment for President Trump through a legal settlement related to a lawsuit involving leaked tax information. He argued that the settlement could limit future IRS actions, while Bessent declined to discuss the matter, citing legal restrictions and taxpayer confidentiality. What made this exchange politically significant wasn't simply the allegation itself, it was the perception created by the refusal to answer. In congressional hearings, avoiding a direct response often becomes just as newsworthy as the question itself. Critics argue that silence raises suspicion, while supporters contend that public officials must avoid commenting on matters involved in ongoing litigation. Doggett argued that he wasn't asking about the details of a pending legal case. He said he was asking about the history and standard practice of the Treasury Department. As the exchange continued, frustration inside the hearing room became obvious. Every time the question was repeated, the answer remained essentially the same: no direct response. The hearing then shifted to a much broader issue: government transparency and accountability. Doggett accused the administration of creating special treatment for President Trump through a legal settlement related to a lawsuit involving leaked tax information. He argued that the settlement could limit future IRS actions, while Bessent declined to discuss the matter, citing legal restrictions and taxpayer confidentiality. What made this exchange politically significant wasn't simply the allegation itself, it was the perception created by the refusal to answer. In congressional hearings, avoiding a direct response often